Hey lads, I'm going to another chess tournament today, and it is a 4-round Swiss, 45 minutes plus 5 seconds a move. It's at Arizona State University, so it's the ASU Open. Believe it or not, I am still in Phoenix, and this is the first day that I have seen rain. Look at those clouds. First day I've seen rain in about 5 months of being here, and it's actually cold. It's another thing that's hard to believe. Let's see if we can win all our games today. I'm playing in the under 1,000 rated bracket, and I believe this will be my last tournament. If I do well, that I'll be in this bracket because my rating is going up. Let's see how we do today.
My first game was against a young man named Thomas. Here's a picture of me and Thomas after the game. I was fortunate enough to get the white pieces, and we jumped straight into a Jabava. So let's have a quick look at this game. The game started with d4. He played d5, and I went knight c3, and he played this very interesting move, c5. And c5 immediately challenges the center, and so I always am a little wondering what I should do against this. And I played the move e4, which is one of the best responses. I believe the other response is to go e3. Both of these are decent, but I like e4 because things start to open up and tactics start to happen. So we played e4. He plays his knight out to f6. And this move makes a lot of sense because he's trying to defend his center and attack my pawn. Right now he has 2 attackers on this pawn, and I only have 1 defender, so maybe he could win a pawn here. But I played the move d takes c5. Now, this is not the best move. The best move is actually to take here, and then if he takes here, I can recapture with the queen and have 2 defenders of this pawn on d5. He could also take here, and then I would take here. So the continuation could go like this. He could take, we take, he captures, and we're up a pawn, but we have triple isolated pawns on the c-file. So kind of an ugly game, pretty even though I'm just up a pawn. So since none of that happened, I took on c5, and he took on e4. And now this whole file down the middle is very open. So I was very excited. Probably in retrospect, I should have just taken this queen just to force his king to stay in the middle. I didn't. I instead wanted to try to stick to my Jabava. And I was totally okay if he wanted to capture, because getting my rook to the open file, I could do that with tempo. He didn't capture. He pushed his pawn to e6 just to open his bishop up to attack this pawn. And here I swap off. So his king is now in the middle, and I can castle with check. So a lot of tempo moves here. I'm feeling pretty good. His knight comes out to block, and already I'm seeing stuff. We have the knight here to go to this square, looking very deadly. We have the bishop coming here to b5, looking like it's adding more pressure to this piece that is pinned to the king. So a lot of stuff starting to happen. The reason knight to b5 is not a good move is because it gives up this pawn for free, and I don't have enough compensation. I could try to move in here and go after this rook, but he actually has this beautiful move, knight to h5, which is extremely hard to spot, and so I'm thankful that none of this happened. But yeah, a very hard move to find. Knight on the rim is dim, so difficult to kind of spot this one. You can find these kinds of moves, but you really have to understand the position really well, and it's really difficult to kind of understand this. So let me just explain it super quick. I'm threatening to take this rook, and I also am threatening the bishop on b8 if the rook moves, so I have discoveries. I'm also protecting the knight from the king, so if he attacks my bishop, he's forcing my bishop to move away. It's not defended. So yeah, I could take this, but then he takes this, and he's definitely winning this knight. So he's getting 2 pieces for the rook, so he'd actually be winning. If I were to try to move the bishop, I go here, same thing. He can take. I can't take this. Well, especially now because he could take the rook. And then this piece is still trapped. If I were to go here, which is actually my best move, because the knight can't capture me because he's pinned, he could actually move his king here. And the reason this move is so good is because now the knight is attacking my bishop, and so my bishop has to move again. It can't come to here. because of the bishop. It can't go back because of the knight. It can't go back because we've already discussed this. And it can't stay where it is because of the knight. And if I just capture, he captures, and then my knight's stuck. So you can kind of start to see why going after this bishop is so powerful. So I would have to move the bishop, and now I can't capture the rook because it's his turn. He can just go rook to b8. And my position's worse. He's up a pawn, and his pieces are starting to develop. That was really complicated, but you can kind of understand how these moves are so good, why they're so good, when you start to see what you're going after. You're trying to get rid of this bishop from the defense of this knight, and you're trying to stop the knight movement and have the bishop attack from behind when the knight moves. So yeah, a lot of tactics there. None of this happened. Just wanted to go over this quickly. Let's jump back to see what he actually played. He didn't take the free pawn, and he didn't jump here. So instead, he moved his pawn up, which we just took for free because he can't attack my bishop. He's pinned. Again, he missed to take the free pawn, and I was pretty thankful. So I threw in a check. Well, I thought I had a good check there. And then I brought the knight in. This move just seemed good. I'm getting out of danger, and it's a tempo move. I'm attacking him with a check. He decides to swap off here, and I was feeling very good about taking with the pawn because the pawn is now an isolated passer. It's 2 squares from promotion. If I had taken with the bishop, there could have been opportunities for him to take my pawn on c5. So I thought that this was really good. However, the bishop is not holding this square, so the king can walk away and get away from the center. So maybe in retrospect, it would have been better to play the bishop to d6. It was in this position that Thomas was trying to find the right move, and he thought, I'm going to castle. And he touched his king to pick it up to castle, but he hadn't realized that he had already moved his king to capture the queen, and then he had moved it back. And so when he touched his king to castle, which looks like it would have been a really good move, I said, you're not allowed to castle. And he said, oh yeah. And I said, but you have to move your king. And I felt like a bit of a jerk for playing by the rules. But the rules are, if you touch a piece, you have to move it. So he moved his king here, which actually is a totally okay move for his position. So I didn't feel so bad about it. But if it had been like another piece, like a queen, and he had to move it and I would get a free queen or something, I probably would have just let him, like, not worried about it. Because, like, why am I being a stickler? But anyway, we're playing by the rules. So he moved his king to f8. Here I move my bishop to c4, getting ready to just attack on a good diagonal. He moves his knight out, attacking my bishop, so I drop my bishop back. He then develops his bishop to a really good square where it blockades my pawn from progressing forwards, and allows his rook to maybe get developed somewhere. I bring my knight out, trying to develop pieces. He moves his knight in, looking at a nasty little fork. So here I move out of the fork, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm totally fine if he takes this pawn because I can go rook f1, and then I'm lined up against his king, and it just looks really nice for me. I'm also attacking this pawn, so I was thinking about things here. He moves his rook over to defend it an extra time, and so I attack the pawn an extra time, also looking at this square, maybe jumping in here, an outpost. You always want to look for outposts where your pieces can't be budged because they're protected by a pawn. So I was thinking about this. He took my pawn, and here I just thought, okay, I've already got 2 pieces attacking this pawn. Let's attack it with 3. He pushes it, and now I'm only attacking it with 1, and he's defending it with 1. So this is a good way to defend. He's also defending his knight here, but things are starting to cook up a little bit here. You guys are going to see why this game was so exciting. I moved my knight in to challenge this knight. He takes, I take with the bishop. And reason taking with the bishop, I'm looking at this square here. I'm also looking at these pawns on the side. And I know, yeah, my focus seems like it's over on this side of the board, but maybe I can just grab a few extra pawns and really secure my victory. He pushes this pawn, which I immediately thought that's a mistake. I grabbed the free pawn. He pushed it. I grabbed a free pawn. He moves his king to g7, trying to connect his rooks, which is something you should always try to do in chess, but it's a little too late. I go in for the kill here on this pawn. He pushes it up, And so I pin it to the king. So this pawn now cannot move, and I'm attacking it twice. Here he defends it again. So he's defending it with the rook, and he's defending it with the king. So 2 pieces defending this pawn. And it was here in this position that I found a brilliant move. You probably already have somewhat kind of spotted it. I sacrificed my rook. I took the pawn here on e3. This is a free rook for him to capture. It's not defended, but I see that I have 2 attackers on this pawn. The pawn is going to fall, and maybe then I can grab this rook in the corner. So I was very excited. He took my rook. I checked him. He moved his king to defend his rook. Here I took his free knight that is sitting here because it's no longer defended by the pawn. So I took the knight. He threw in a check. I moved my king to attack his rook. His rook has to move. And so now you're thinking, okay, what are you going to do, Owen? How are you going to grab this rook in the corner? The king's protecting it. Well, let's attack the king. So I attacked it with the bishop, forcing the king to only 1 square. He has to move. Here, I take the rook with check from my own rook. He's forced over again because this square is held. These ones are held by the rook, and this one's held by the bishop, and this one's held by the other bishop. So he's only forced this way. I check him here. He probably doesn't want to walk back into discoveries because I could do something maybe like this where I check him with the rook, and then I can swap off another piece, and he'll probably be really thinking it's kind of over then. So here he moves to d8. You guys are going to love this finish. I reroute my bishop to c4. He moves his king. We have a forced checkmate in 18 moves. I don't find it, but I do put my rook here, wanting to come here once his king moves down so that I could pin the bishop and just take it off. He grabs a pawn, thinking for free, but he forgot that I had a sniper bishop in the corner. So I took that rook for free. He moves his king. I come up, going with this little plan. His bishop's pinned. I check it here, so if he wants to take, I can take. He doesn't, so he instead takes the pawn. And then I get the bishop for free because I'm defended by my bishop. He moves into c5. I play c4. He moves a pawn. I put a pawn here on a3, holding this little square here. The bishop's holding this square. The pawn is holding this square. The rook's got all 3 of these squares. And so now I can deliver checkmate in the center of the board. The bishop cutting the middle, this bishop cutting, this pawn holding, this pawn and bishop defending each other, and the rook holding the other squares. So I was really happy to find this checkmate and was really happy to beat Thomas. He was a really good sport. I really enjoyed getting to play him, but 1 game, 1 win. I was off to a really good start in this tournament. Chess.com says that I played with an 83.5% accuracy and my opponent with a 71.8%. I think the biggest difference in this game between myself and Thomas was I was able to sort of develop my pieces with tempo, and he was kind of left trying to defend and hold on to everything. If you look back here, yes, this was a bad move, and he had some counterplay that he could have found, kind of tricky to find. But here I was able to get the bishop into the action with a check. And then when he moved his king, I was able to get my knight into the action with a check. So both of my pieces are kind of improving while he's just having to defend it. So I felt like, you know, most of my moves, I can get my bishop into the action. And these moves are just kind of all a bit awkward. Not the easiest for him. He's just in an ugly position right out of the gate, kind of. But I felt like I was able to develop pretty easily and play my game. I wasn't having to react to anything he was doing. I was able to just play my game. So I was the one in control, and that definitely makes life easier. However, in game 2, I have my score sheet here. We played against Shantanu, who was an absolute monster on the board. When I saw Shantanu on the other side of the board, I got worried. He was tall. He was Indian. When he wrote his moves down, his handwriting was like perfect. Like he'd gone to school to write chess moves on a piece of paper. Like everything about him was professional. And I was a wee bit nervous. But have a look and see what happened in game 2 against Shantanu. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, bro. This game was a lot of fun. Shantanu opened the game with e4, and I played the Caro-Kann, which is a opening system that I've been trying to get a wee bit better at. He took control of the center completely by playing d4, and I play the Caro-Kann main line here. He pushes is the advanced variation, and I play the Botvinnik Karl's defense, where you play this pawn up to try and challenge the center. He played c3, and so I took and he took. So this is a very typical all book theorized opening. I develop my knight, he develops his knight. We're both attacking this pawn. He does have an extra defender, so I'm far from taking it at the moment. I pin his knight to his queen, so if I were to take this, he would have to take back with a queen. So I'm basically immobilizing one of his defenders of this pawn. He stops my immobilization. I secure my own pawn in the center. He castles, and I put my rook on c8. So right now, this is a very typical Caro-Kann opening. You're always trying to go after this pawn, the d4 pawn. If you can get rid of this pawn, then this one's going to fall, and you're going to have a really good game. He moves his bishop in to defend this pawn even more. So I'm thinking I'm never going to be able to grab this pawn. But watch and see what happens. I develop my knight out here, thinking I can bring a knight here and attack this pawn. This is the whole idea. It's really easy to play the Caro-Kann because you're just going after this pawn. He moves his knight out. Not quite sure what that move does. Maybe he wants to come here and defend the pawn. Not entirely sure, but right now he's got 1, 2, 3 defenders of it, and I only have one attacker, so I'm probably not getting it for a while. I go in for the attack, 2 attackers on the pawn. He moves his queen to a4. Now a4's interesting move. He's pinning my knight, so I have 1 less attacker. I pull my bishop out. He pulls his bishop out, and here I sat and calculated for a while because I was really worried. He's got 2 attackers on this knight. And let's say I do something stupid like this. Then he could take, I take, he can then take this one. So capturing this knight, it's the defender and the only defender of my bishop. So I have to be very careful. So in this position, I actually just decided I don't want to have to deal with all this complication of defending this bishop and trying to defend my knight. He's going to grab this. So I just took his knight off. He took mine. And now I'm seeing... okay, we still have 2 attackers here of this pawn. Yeah, one of them can't move at the moment, but he's only got 2 defenders now. So I'm starting to think maybe I can grab this pawn soon. Here I try to kick his bishop away. He runs back, and I decide to castle, get out of this pin, remobilize my knight on this pawn. Yes, he's still got 2 defenders, but here he gives up the defense. And the reason is he doesn't want me to take his bishop for my knight. It totally makes sense. In chess, generally, bishops are slightly stronger than knights. And especially if you have 2 bishops, you don't want to give up the bishop pair. But this is not the way to keep your bishop pair because now he's only got 1 defender of this pawn. So I go in for the kill. I take that pawn off. And here... he has a very sneaky idea, and I started to get worried. And I sat here and calculated for probably 10 minutes. I was like, I got to figure this out because I'm starting to see his sneaky plan. And I think he already knew this plan before he even moved the bishop away. I just greedily took the pawn without even considering this move. So the idea here is if I pull back, he's got g4 hitting both of my pieces. But I calculated this out for so long, for 10 whole minutes. I mean, you've never seen me calculate for 10 minutes before. I was like really intense calculation. I knew my position was okay because I had some counterplay here. So I pull my bishop back. He attacks. And here I play the beautiful move. Queen to h4. Giving up a piece? No, because I can capture his piece back on the next turn. So I'm pinning this pawn. It can't take because I'm going to recapture. So here he takes this knight off. And I was like, okay, this is starting to get a little worrisome because now my knight is hanging and he just grabbed a piece for free. but I have a check. So I check his king. He moves his king over, and now I can recapture this bishop. So I was like, all right, things are looking okay. And the reason that this check actually worked is because now I'm attacking this bishop. Yes, if he wants to take this, I can now take this because, yeah, he has a defender now, but I actually have another attacker. So everything's sort of fortunately working out for me. He takes my knight, and I take his bishop. Things are very good here. Now, I actually missed a really good opportunity here, and I just want to show you what it was because it's actually kind of beautiful. I could have played this beautiful move. Knight G3. If I would have found this, I'm pretty sure Shantanu would have just like offered me the resignation right there. He'd have been like, man, you're insanely good. You're a monster on the chessboard. I resign humbly. But he didn't. He kept fighting, and you're going to see why he kept fighting here. But I didn't find this beautiful move. This would have been beautiful. Like, let's say he comes here, then we can take h5, and we're still attacking this twice. He can't even move it because we get the queen for free on the other side. So, like, I can just pick up pawns and just be totally ahead. But unfortunately, I didn't find that move. I just took his bishop. He takes my queen. I take his queen. He moves his rook. I move my rook up here, attacking this piece. He defends it. I take a free pawn. He moves his rook in. I defend my knight. And then here, he moves his knight in. And I'm like, okay, should I do the top engine move and take the pawn? Yeah, that's what I do. But then he comes in here and he takes this pawn. And I'm starting to get a little like, maybe he's got some counterplay. I really need to quickly swap off some pieces. That's what I was thinking. Or grab some extra pawns so I'm like completely victorious here. I saw I was up 2 pawns. So I wasn't really stressed, but I was like slightly stressed. And yeah, I can't capture this. I'm also realizing I can't defend this, but he can't capture me because then I can capture him back because he's no longer pinning this pawn to the king. So here, I move over. I'm like, I'll just grab another pawn. And he checks me. I move out of the way. And I'm like, okay, am I losing another pawn? No, I can capture this one. But here he plays this move, rook A to G1. And I was like, what is this move? I was like actually thinking like, what's the point of that? And I actually couldn't see it. I was like, that's not a good move. And I told myself that. I was like, that is a terrible move because he's never taking here. I have like 3 defenders. But I forgot that this rook is pinning the pawn to my king, and now my knight is not defended. If he takes here, I can't capture him back because now this rook is hitting my king. And I stupidly push my pawn, and he takes my knight. And actually when he took it, he kind of just like looked at the board and he was like, and I saw he did like one of those like what's going on? And I was like, oh, I just blundered. That was, I'm pretty sure, a blunder. Yeah, it says D4 is a blunder. Big red writing there. Blunder man incoming. Stupid move. He takes my knight. And I'm like, oh, I can't even get this. I'm in trouble. But I was like, I do have a pawn, so I might as well go full in with this plan. Now, apparently, according to the engine, I am still winning, but he's up a knight now. And yeah, I'm up 2 pawns, but he's up a knight. So I was like, I've just completely thrown my advantage. I could have actually done okay here if I had just played rook to e8 and gone after this pawn. Not really worried about this one. I can get this one to here, but I could have got this pawn off. How is this knight getting away? Like if I go here, knight has to come to here, and then we pick up a pawn for free. But I do all the wrong moves. Try to defend my pawn. He checks me. I'm still trying to defend my pawn. I go after his knight here. He puts it in the way here, so I can't ever promote. I go up here stupidly. I don't think this move is particularly good, but my next move is definitely even worse. Going here because I forgot that he had this move. And I'm just wasting all my time. The position's basically dead even. And now I play the stupid move where he can en passant me. I kind of thought, maybe Shantanu doesn't know about en passant. Maybe he's the kind of chess player who doesn't know how to play chess particularly well. And maybe he is, like, actually his rating says 800, but he knew about en passant and he took my pawn. I recaptured, and now his position is just winning. I try to defend as best as I can, but he just defends very well. And here he starts to gobble up my pawns. I try to pin this knight to the king. He checks me, I have to run, and now he comes back to defend it. So I'm a bit nervous. I move my king up because I see that he can throw in these checks, and I'm realizing I actually can't go here. I would be forced over here, and like if you just look at this, like let's say I go here, check. I kind of have to go here probably, and this is a fork winning a rook. And if I go here, I was like, this just does not look good. He could probably grab this one. So that's why I moved the king to f3. But he grabs all my pieces, and in this position, I resigned to Shantanu. He absolutely cooked me, and he played a lot better. His rating was 885 and mine is 945, you can see up here, but he's gonna be probably at 2600 in a matter of months. Chess.com says that Shantanu played with an 83.4 and I played with a 78. If I didn't have that stupid blunder, pretty sure Chess.com would have said I played with an 84 or 85. You know, I probably would have been really proud of me, but you know, I do have to blunder. You know, that's what happens. So right now in the tournament, we're 1 win, 1 loss. I'm not feeling too good about it all. But game 3, you're going to see some beautiful queen traps. So have a look at what happens against Richard, the big man from Mexico. And Richard has played internationally. He had played in Mexico, and he said his rating was like 1,000 in Mexico something. He was unrated in the States, but he is running a chess club south of Tucson in Arizona, and really cool dude. So was very happy to play him. But yeah, there are some beautiful queen traps in this next game, and I think you guys will enjoy this one. Let's jump into game 3. Here we have game 3. I was pretty excited because we got the white pieces and we'd already won our first game with the white pieces, and I'm very confident with the Jabava. So I played d4, and then all my hope and aspirations and dreams went out the window because my opponent played f5, the Dutch. And this is the opening that I play as black against d4, and I play it as black because it takes people out of theory. Nobody knows how to play against the Dutch, but I don't know how to play against the Dutch, even though I know how to play the Dutch myself. And so you can't really play the Jabava against the Dutch. It just doesn't quite work the same. He puts his knight on f6, and I knew because I'd seen recently in a video when playing against the Dutch, you can't go for the Jabava, so instead you go for this move, the whatever move that is, bishop g5, but it's supposed to do quite well against the Dutch. He pushes his pawn up, defending his knight with his queen. I take the knight, he takes with queen, and then I play my knight to f3. Now, ideally, what I should have done here is I should have played e4, because e4, he only has one defender of the e4 square, and I already have a defender as well. So if I had gone e4 here and he takes, I actually tempo his queen, and I have central control, and things are open, not so Dutch-like. In the Dutch Stonewall especially, things get very closed. So this would have been really good for me if I'd gone for this, but I didn't. I instead tried to develop my pieces like an idiot. Never develop your pieces. Don't do that in the opening. It's not a good idea. He plays his Stonewall, and now he's going to just play this positional masterpiece of an opening. It usually is very simple and very easy to get a decent position into the middle game. I play e3, he moves his knight, I move my bishop, he moves his pawn, I castle, he moves his bishop into the center, and we're already like well into the middle game now. You know, he can castle here, and he can start maybe pushing these pawns. He could maybe try to get his bishop here and castle this way and push these pawns on me. He's got some ideas, and I also have some ideas. So I haven't done very well to like play white and get an advantage out of the opening. I haven't been able to do that. I pull my knight back, and I was thinking about this move after, and I was like, this really was not good. moving a knight twice in the opening, it just doesn't seem like a good idea. I was trying to get my pawn pushed so that I could make a break here. The problem with the stone wall is there's two pawns holding e4, so you can never get e4 in, which is the push that you really want. Even here, I can't get e4 in, even though I have 1, 2, 3 defenders, because look, let's say he goes here and I go e4, he takes. What am I going to recapture with? Like, I can't recapture with anything. Like, let's say he takes my piece, and now he's just up. He's up a minor piece. So I can never get it in. The only way for me to get any e4 in is to move the f pawn. And so that's why I moved this knight out of the way. I was like, I need to make room for this pawn here. And I couldn't move the knight over this way because the queen was holding those squares. So I really only had this one option, I felt. So he castled. And I play f3, and my position is terrible because he can actually play e5 and go up a pawn here. We can do those calculations some other time if you really want to see him, but yeah, e5, he's going to win a pawn. His position's just better. He moved his queen over here, and he's looking at this, and I'm seeing, oh, I might be getting mated here. So instead of going for this e4 plan, I have to play f4. Just to stop the bishop from attacking here. But I do see, okay, maybe I can lift a rook and get here into an attack. He pulls his rook up to get his rook over here to, you know, maybe attack. Maybe he wants to pull his queen up and still go for this pawn. But if I'm being honest, like, I can really like read what he's trying to do. It's very simple to sort of see his plan. So I kind of knew what to be aware of. I pull my bishop over. He maneuvers his knight. And now I pull my rook up, and I'm thinking, I have a plan here. Now you guys are going to start to see, why did I play? You're probably like a couple moves ago, you're like, why do you play bishop e2? Well, it's because I had this little sneaky trap. He foolishly plays his bishop. He's trying to snake his bishop around and get it into the game. But here, I can play this move, hitting his queen. And yeah, his queen can go here and get away. It can't go here because I take it, but it can go here. But then I have this move with the bishop. So the bishop actually traps the queen completely, and he would be completely lost here. So when I played the rook up, I was like, please don't play this move. Like, I was like thinking about it right before he played this. I was like, please don't go here, because if he goes here, then I don't have this. And the reason I don't have this is because he could just capture it. My pawn is pinned. I can't recapture. So I was like, please don't move your rook here. But thankfully, he moved his bishop. We trap his queen, and he takes my rook. So now I have these isolated pawns on their own here. They're doubled on the H file. So he tries to attack them, but I am up a queen. So like, I am able to sort of defend this position fairly easily, but I'm still really struggling with a lot of this. Like, it was difficult to like get out of the whole mess that this game was. Like, very messy game. He takes my what was that? That was a knight. Yeah, he takes my knight. I recapture. He takes my pawn. I recapture. I'm thinking, let's just trade off as much as we can. That'll make things more simple. But honestly, this game was not simple. It was like stressful. Like, the entire time it was just stressful, even though I'm up so much. I bring my rook over. I'm like, okay, I need to go after the base of his pawn chain. It's a weakness. But he just captures here and defends with two pieces. I can't recapture because he's got a bishop. So I'm like, I guess I have to do another pawn break here. So I try to do this. He attacks my bishop. I attack his bishop. He moves his bishop. I move my bishop. And the position's just kind of locked up. I'm never really breaking through. He takes another pawn. Now I'm only up 2 points. I trapped his queen and I'm only up 2 points. And now he's looking at this with his rook as well. I was like, what is going on? I move my knight over. He pushes his pawn, and I think he's just trying to kick this and like do some sneaky something check and come in with a rook kind of sneaky plan. I'm like, okay, everything's got to go after this pawn. We just got to get some checks in. He brings his rook over to defend this, and here I was like, that's a good, oh no, it's not a good move. Use the bishop sniper. which he forgot about. And so now I'm like, okay, I can just sack a bunch of pieces and I'll probably be fine. And here I actually sat and calculated this for a long time. Do I just trade off here, check his king, and he takes me, and I take him, and he takes me? I was like, yeah, it's probably winning, but like this looks scary, and I can't get out, and I can't get out, and I don't know if I want to do this. And he's very close to this piece and very close to attacking this piece, and this is a passer. So I was like, I don't want to go through all that, and I'm only up 1 point. So I was like, I probably shouldn't do something that stupid. So I didn't. Instead, I came over here to pin his pawn to the king. He can't take my knight because it's check. So he attacks my bishop. I move my bishop. He moves his knight. He attacks my queen here. So I was like, all right, I need to move my queen. So I move my queen up. He takes my knight. I take his pawn. He moves his knight. I take that final, I get that base of the pawn chain. Now I'm like, okay, now we can like finally go in and make an attack. But here he checks me, thinking he has something here. But yeah, he kind of has something, but I'm able to win all of his pieces for it. So I take his knight. He forks my king and queen. I take his rook. He takes my queen, and I take his bishop. So I got a rook and 2 minor pieces. That's 11 points. And he got a queen. So I was pretty happy with that whole trade. So now the game's basically over. I can just eat all his pieces and no more stress, which is what I really like. That's the thing I really care the most about, is not being stressed. But Big Richard stressed me out a ton. I'm sorry I went through that game really fast, but I realized this video is getting long and I want to just get on to the last final game, which was a pretty exciting one. I didn't play it so clean, but we got a very interesting position. But yeah, I really enjoyed getting to play Richard. The engine says that we played with an 83.8 and he played with a 76.7. You can see that it dips down here, and that was when I was maneuvering my knights around, not really having much focus. But after that, we trap his queen, and we do have a fairly easy way to get that victory. But it was very stressful, even though it looked kind of easy. It was stressful. Let's jump into the final game. We played against Vivia. She was a little girl, the only kid that I played in this tournament. But I was happy enough to be playing a kid after having to play Big Richard from Mexico, Mr. Gukesh from India, and yeah. So currently I'm 2 wins and 1 loss in this tournament. So you'll see how we do in this final game. So here's game 4 against Vivia. She plays d4, and so you'll probably never guess what I play. The Dutch. She brings her knight out, and here I make a mistake. I should be trying to control the e4 square, but I don't. I play e6, so this is a move I need to remember. I need to remember to control e4, because here she's able to take control and get her knight into the center, and I'm not able to, defend that square. If I had played the knight first, then she wouldn't have ever been able to play her knight here. But thankfully, she plays her knight twice and kind of messes up her good opening. And so I'm able to castle and get a fairly standard Dutch position here. The bishop comes to b7 on this long diagonal, super powerful piece here. And although apparently this is a mistake, I do want to come over here and attack on the king side of the board. It's a typical Dutch idea. I guess there's moves that I could have played that would have been slightly better, but this is my typical plan. She brings her bishop into the center, so I gladly take that off. She takes, and here I move my queen out. I know that I've been playing a lot of mistakes here, and this is not good, but we do get a pretty nice attack here from this. So she plays her knight over, and got some fun ideas here. I move my pawn to h5. Now, I could have taken here, and she would have had to take with a pawn, which doubles her pawns. They're isolated. Looks pretty good, but I thought my plan was a little sneakier, so I play h5, and she doesn't see it. She moves her queen, doubling her pieces here, maybe looking at this, maybe wanting to come in here at some point and attack this, maybe sack it and, get a check here, pick up the queen, something, I don't know. But here we actually missed this beautiful move, sacrificing the rook, which would have been really nice to find. I kind of wish I played this move, but I didn't. I took with the other piece. I took with the bishop. She immediately took back because I suppose she calculated that she was losing, and she kind of sort of gave up at this point. I don't know. I think she kind of zoned out after this point, like after she lost, and she kind of felt maybe she had a bad tournament. But it is what it was, you know, it was what it is. I'm not using proper words right now, but she took, I took, she took, and the whole point of everything was the knight's pinned to the king. The knight can't move, so I take her knight, she takes, and here I just basically try to grab all the material I can. There's a hanging pawn here, so I grab it. She defends the next one, so I try to go after this one. She moves her king, I take with check, she moves her king, and here I try to just develop my pieces. Very quick game, just going for the quick cleanup, moving all my pawns in just to get rid of this. She pushes this one to try to secure it. She doesn't want to have to be tied down to defending it. Here I move my pawn forwards. She takes, so I capture and just get pieces off. She takes, I take the pawn, and here I have a forced checkmate in 32 moves, which I don't see, but she moves her rook. I check the king. She moves her king. I move my queen, trying to set up like some sneaky check with a capture on the rook. She avoids it. I push just to move her rook out of the way, and here she pulls her rook back. I actually have a forced checkmate in 2, which would have been really nice to spot. Queen d2, forced here, and checkmate. I missed it. Instead, I played the check. She moves over. Check. She moves over. Capture the rook. She moves up. And here I'm like, okay, I can just move the king up and probably get a checkmate here. So that's what I tried to do. Move the king up, and we deliver a checkmate here. So it was a pretty simple game. I do think I mucked up at the start a bit, and she probably could have gotten an advantage, but it was the last tournament of the day, and we were both probably kind of tired and exhausted after playing people like Richard and, you know, big mechanical monster calculators. So was happy to get this win fairly quickly, ending the tournament 3 wins and 1 loss. Our rating went up from 945 to 975, I think. I was a bit bummed that it didn't go up any higher, but it is what it is. I did lose one of the games, so I guess it makes sense that it doesn't go up an insane amount. But I guess getting to 2,600 isn't going to happen overnight anymore. It's going to take me a long time. So here's a quick video of me talking about the tournament after I left. I was really happy to meet all the people that I played against, and I really enjoyed the tournament. It was a lot of fun. If you guys don't go to chess tournaments but you love chess, honestly, just go to a few. Like, it's a lot of fun competing against humans instead of competing against people online. I mean, they're still humans, but like some of them are stockfish. But it's really fun playing against actual people and getting to meet them and play against them. I had a blast. This tournament was fun, and I feel like I learned quite a bit from the tournament too. Especially against Shantanu, I thought it was good. I really calculate why people make every single move that they make. Use my time to calculate that better. I just thought he's moving a rook here to g1 for no reason, but he had a reason. Hope you guys enjoyed this. This final game, we played with an 85.2% and our opponent with a 76.7%. And I'll leave you with this final video. But do go out and buy one of the Blunderman hats. It's over there. Buy a hat. I'll see you guys later.
Happy days, lads. You just watched those 4 games. I'm feeling pretty good. I think we could have gotten 4 wins today. That second game of the Caro-Kann, just what it is, you know? It's just a good reminder that, you know, even though I can win these games, that I got to consider every single move my opponent makes and use my time better than I have. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will see you guys soon as we continue this raiding climb and keep destroying people on the chessboard. See you guys soon.